What was your, oh shoot, I might not be straight moment? Story 1. Basically, I got a text from a guy I met at school, literally never talked to him outside of that one class. The text said, "Hey, you're pretty hot. Wanna F?" Now, I assumed that my reaction would be, "No, I'm straight," when I sat there and thought about it. Long story short, I thought he was pretty hot too. We chatted for a few days, sent some pictures, then we boned. Story 2. I wrestled my best friend in middle school and realized in the middle of it that I prefer it when he's on top of me. Edit. Whoo-hoo, this blew up. Let's hope he's not a Redditor. And yes, we hooked up later, you middle-aged suburban woman you. Novel is out soon. Well, even if he is on Reddit, I'm sure stories like this are actually common enough for you to maintain your anonymity fairly well. Case in point, the sheer fact that this Ask Reddit thread exists in the first place. The novel, on the other hand, may give a few details away, but based on the number of people who wanted to hear more of this OP's story, maybe he's onto something with that idea. Story 3. I was over at my friend's house and he took a shower and came back to his room naked and started playing Fortnite naked. I was way too interested in looking at him that I knew I wasn't straight. Story 4. I just love when women... Story 5. College. I had a girlfriend through high school, so I assumed I was bi because I had a girlfriend, even though I looked at the boys way more than any girl. Story 6. When I said to my friend, "This dude is cool," I wouldn't ask him out, but if he asked me, I wouldn't refuse. Turns out I'm gay and shy. Story 7. The day when I was 16 and had just realized that the only corn that I had been watching up to that point for the last 5 years was the gay kind. Story 8. Australian accent. I honestly still say straight, but deep down, I know if the right Aussie hit on me, I'd be saying bye as soon as I crawled out of their bed and caught my breath. Story 9. Met a girl via Twitter through a tag, started talking, then moved to video calls. Every time a notification came up on my phone from her, I got that warm-faced, fuzzy chest feeling. We're just good friends, I said to myself, like a liar. She's just really sweet, and I like talking to her. I ask her who that is, as I'd never heard the name from her before. "Oh, that's my boyfriend." "Oh, okay. Recent boyfriend?" "No, we've been together for 7 years. Around minute 5 of crying is when I realized. Crying about that feeling like I'd gotten my heart broken wasn't normal. That's a little sad. But gay or straight, sometimes you think that what you have with someone is platonic, and you only realize it runs deeper than that when you find out you can't have them. It's a really unfortunate way to realize the extent of your feelings for another person, but it happens all the time. At least in this OP's case, she knows a little bit more about herself now, so she isn't as likely to be taken by surprise the next time. Story 10. Being 14 and realizing I preferred lesbian erotic novels over anything else. Story 11. When I was 13 or 14, I was at a sleepover. We discussed our boys we fancied, less than our girls' crush list. They named celebrities. I named, like, Holly from drama class, one of our female teachers, a girl in the year above, and was like, yeah, she's pretty, and she's cute. I was then informed the girl crush is when you want to be this person or be like them, not be on them or kissing them and holding their hand while you walk around the Christmas market. And that's how I found out that being attracted to girls wasn't a straight person thing. Story 12. One time in high school, I knew a girl who was really attached to me. I had low self-esteem, and she would always be happy with me, and she would say things like, "You look cute today," and "That skirt matches your eyes." I never thought she liked me because I would just think nobody can like me, or I would just think I was lucky to have someone so nice. It was by Valentine's Day she made me chocolate in a little pink locket as she confessed her love to me. I almost fainted as I coughed in shock. Wrong reaction. She was confused, but we talked it out. That year we went to prom together. She was my first best kiss at grade, and we were one of the most famous lesbian couples in our school. We later broke up because she was going to her dream college in California, and we both agreed a long-term relationship wouldn't be good. Ever since, I knew I was gay. High school relationships rarely last, but they're still important because they help us start learning more about who we are in a relationship and what type of person we like being with. The more experience you have with that, the less likely you'll hopefully be to waste your time in an unhappy relationship later on down the line. It sounds like this was a pretty valuable relationship for this OP. Hopefully she'll be able to say the same about her next one. Story 13. My therapist was doing a series of quick questions and asked, "You like boys?" And I was like, "Yeah." "And you like girls?" And I said, "No, I don't know." And he said, "Well, straight people normally answer that one way differently." Then it hit me at 23 that I'm not straight, might be bi, and all the watching and reading lesbian corn, finding that actress pretty, fantasizing about a girl 2 years my senior, noticing great boobaloobaloobies and bum cheeks, wasn't me being so okay with being straight that I was okay with having experiences with women. I actually kind of like them. So yeah, I was that oblivious. Story 14. Very first clue that I was bi was rewatching Harry Potter when I was 11 and wanting to make out with Hermione super bad. Then when I was 13, me and my friends were all at a sleepover, and since we were horny teens, we played Spin the Bottle. I got my best friend, and it was like the best thing ever. Story 15. When my best friend came out as a lesbian, and my brain went automatically, "Yes, we have a chance with her." Wait, so turns out I'm bi. Edit. By we, I meant myself, an idiot, and whatever runs my emotions. Second edit, for clarification. No, we never got together. Turns out she was experimenting more than anything else, and told me she didn't like women before I could even get the courage to tell her. We stopped being friends shortly after for different reasons, and I have no way to contact her anymore. She never knew, and probably never will. Lucy, if you're out there, I don't think about you anymore, except for this moment of my life, and in the end, it's more about me than about you. But I once fancied the way you would smile at me a bit too much. This feels like a pretty weird message to send someone you haven't talked to in years. It makes me want to know so much more about the falling out between these two. Usually you don't need to tell someone you haven't spoken to in years that you don't think about them very often. It's typically more or less understood. I can't tell if this was meant to be somewhat aggressive, or if Lucy thought OP made more of the crush than she did, and this is just for clarification. What do you think? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Story 16. When I was little and whenever I read books about a straight couple in love, and the woman was this fiery goddess, I never wanted to be the gorgeous woman in the book. I was curious about how it felt to fall for one. I loved the idea of it. Then I started to develop intense crushes on girls. Story 17. In high school PE, I tried out for football. The coach was showing us how to tackle. So there I was, getting a long body slammed by a 300-pound tank with a beard and bigger than tree trunks. I did not complain. Turns out I don't like football, I just like rough, hanky-panky with bearish men. Also, renobs while wearing a cup are very uncomfortable. Story 18. Going down on my high school best friend in the science room storage closet. I wrote a very long diary entry in late middle school about how beautiful my best friend looked as she slept at her sleepover. I wrote in detail about her fluttering eyelashes, her smooth skin, her parted lips, her deep breathing, etc. I closed it out by saying that I'm not homosexual, and I never would be. I just thought my best friend was a beautiful soul. We started dating a couple months later. I've never completely understood why a person's gut reaction is to deny what they're feeling. I get that it can be hard coming out to certain parents, and that not all communities are as accepting as others, but the fear always seems to be something more than that, as if the person is actually struggling more simply to accept themselves. It's sad that anyone has to go through that, but it's good when people like this OP are able to move on from it and do right by themselves. Story 19. Realizing that a male friend was objectively more attractive than my girlfriend. Took me another 20 years to admit to myself that I was bi, though. Story 20. When I saw a woman dressed in a business suit, but with a skirt. She had on heels and tights with a black line going up the back of her thighs. That sight, with the click of her heels, I didn't just like boys. Story 21. Was year 10 in the UK, maybe 15, on a school trip to the US. Shared a 2 double bedroom with 3 upper 6, 17 to 18-year-old guys. This would be back in 2007-ish, when skinny jeans and the kids with greasy hair were the thing. One of them was this guy who was 18, and I thought he was so mature and grown up. He wore a proper thick woolen trench coat and told stories about girls giving bejesuses under it, which, to a 15-year-old, felt like I was talking to some sort of wizard. He had very pale gray-blue eyes, but with dark skin and messy, curly dark hair, so they really stood out. Anywho, they decided that being squeamish around other boys was cool, so this guy decided after his shower to walk across the room stark naked to get dressed, as he was really thin but muscular with it. And that was the first time I'd really looked at a dong before, because he stood there toweling off with a bit of a smirk, as if he was trying to make me uncomfortable. I was not uncomfortable. It's a little ironic that this guy's whole goal was to make OP uncomfortable, and it backfired about as much as it possibly could have. I have to wonder if he ever found out. Then again, it might be even more ironic if the guy actually knew exactly what he was doing. Just because he told stories about girls doesn't mean anything. Plenty of guys play the field before learning what they really like. Sometimes it's out of denial, but sometimes it simply takes people a while to discover what they truly like. The point is that you never really know what's going on in another person's head, so you probably shouldn't do things like whipping it out to try and make them feel squeamish. Actually, you probably just shouldn't do that anyway. Story 22. Megara from Hercules, and Hercules. Chell from Road to El Dorado, Jessica Rabbit from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Lola Bunny in Space Jam, and quite recently reignited my passion for men too, Zagreus from Hades. Story 23. Henry Cavill. Story 24. Sitting there Googling Am I Lesbian quizzes. Well, the first sign probably should have been little 4th grade me, after learning of the existence of gay people, laying there at night thinking, oh man, gay girls are so lucky. Wish I could date a girl. Oh well, guess I'll marry a man. Or the countless times groups of girls would be obsessing over how cute some dude was, and I'd be standing there like, question mark? Or maybe the fantasies I had in 6th grade about me dating a girl I was friends with. But for some reason, I didn't even begin to consider the possibility of not being straight until I got the most intense crush of my life. The kind that physically hurts because you want the other person so badly, on a friend of mine who was a girl, hence the Googling. Took me another 2 or 3 years to really accept it. Even now I have a girlfriend and occasionally doubt myself, but I know that's just my dumbest brain overthinking everything. I don't think it's really dumb to feel doubt in a case like that. If you've already had to go through an experience of realizing that you might not be the same as you think quote-unquote normal people are supposed to be, then I'd expect it's only natural to still feel some self-doubt occasionally. You've gone through this journey of self-discovery, and in the process, you learn that sometimes you might not know yourself as well as you think. Having never been through it myself, I can only guess at how often that happens. Perhaps people in the comments have experienced this before. Is it a normal part of coming out of the closet? Let us know your experience down in the comments. Story 25. Girls be looking way cuter, and I developed some feels. But the solidifying moment was during a girl sleepover where we played Truth or Dare and I had to kiss this girl. Oh boy, I did not want that moment to end. Story 26. I was reading a blog and it said, bisexuality was imagining yourself married to either gender and being happy with it. It's probably not an accurate statement, but I figured that I'd be totally fine with either. Later on, I thought about the hanky-panky part, was completely repulsed, and learned the term asexual. Story 27. Okay, well, here's also the story I will never tell my parents. So, back in 8th grade, I was bullied by a bunch of girls because they thought I was a lesbian and they had decided to try and blackmail me. So one day, I was alone in the halls. I had to stay back in my last class due to spilling something, and now I was late going to my next class. I swear they must have somehow planned me spilling something because one of the girls was walking the opposite direction of me, but then quickly stopped me with their arm and did that pin someone against the wall with your arm thing. She was taller than me, so she was looking down at me, and I was a bit scared and confused since I thought I was going to get beat up. But instead, she started to flirt with me. Not like the compliment flirting, I mean like full-on I want to bang you flirting. Keep in mind we were both underage for the state we were in, which was 16 for consent. I was blushing like crazy before she kissed me and left. I don't know how they were going to blackmail me, because a week passed before it clicked with me that I liked that a bit too much, even if it was faked. Then I told a friend that I thought I could trust, and before I knew it, the whole school knew I was a lesbian, and I got heavily bullied for it. So the homophobes made my life worse. Thanks for making me scared to come out to my parents. Middle school. See, this is one of the fears about coming out that I totally understand. Kids can be horrible, and it's pretty much a given that a number of them, no matter how much you think you can trust them, will out your secrets to the whole school pretty much overnight. Honestly, you can't even just blame kids for that one. If there's anything I've learned, it's that adults can gossip just as much, sometimes even more. It's sad when someone has to spread rumors about another person's life just to make their own life feel more interesting. Story 28. I don't think I'm gay, since in relationship dynamics, I much more prefer the company of women. However, since the first time I went to the Louvre at 13, I was really fascinated with all those statues and paintings of naked men. So yeah, I'd say a beautiful body is a beautiful body, no matter the sex. Story 29. More weird than other examples. I'm heteroromantic easily, but I found out I'm bi-curious when I found myself fapping to the idea of getting topped out of nowhere. And rather than be disgusted, it just kind of felt arousing. Story 30. I've been watching lesbian porn since I discovered what porn was. Dudes in porn made me uncomfortable. It was at age 17 I realized that I'm probably not as straight as I thought. That plus having a crush on a girl for the first time. I imagine this is what most stories look like. There are a lot of signs you might not be straight, but feeling physically or emotionally attracted to someone of the same gender as you is pretty much one of the clearest signs you could ask for. Some people actually do experience one-off crushes that don't mean much, but I'd be lying if I said I was certain how common that is. Story 31. The Mummy returns. Evie and Mila battle it out in those gold outfits. Story 32. Me telling my wife, I'm totally straight, but Neil Patrick Harris is hot. I'm totally straight, but Brendan Urie is hot. I'm totally straight, but Dan Levy is hot. Shoot, I might not be totally straight. Story 33. It all started when I was little and saw Rocky Horror Picture Show for the first time. Tim Curry started singing Sweet Transvestite, threw off that cloak, and it awoke something deep in me. He looked dead sexy in that lingerie. Then as a teenager, I went to a party where I played Truth or Dare. I was dared to kiss a boy, and I enjoyed that. Then I was dared to kiss a girl, and I liked that too. And suddenly, things started to fall into place. Turns out I'm pan and pay no attention to gender when it comes to who I'm attracted to. A movie that pretty much celebrates exploration is definitely one place to learn about what makes you tick. On top of that, the movie itself has a dedicated following of fans that tend to be pretty open-minded towards others. This makes it a great community for those who might be struggling to come out. It's something worth considering if that's a position you find yourself in. Support from others is one of the key resources that helps get people through it. Story 34. Making out with girls in 5th grade and liking it. Story 35. Jade from Victorious. She made little 11-year-old me feel a certain type of way. I blame Jade for the fact that I'm now lesbian. Story 36. I was fascinated by a girl at school, age 17. She was so cool and confident, didn't care what people thought. I started thinking about her a little too much. Didn't think anything of it, really. It was only when she invaded my thoughts when I was with my boyfriend that I realized. 2 years later, I came out as a lesbian and haven't looked back. I'm curious to know what this OP did for those 2 years. Did she stay with the boyfriend? Was she in denial? It seems like some of these stories could actually really help younger people who are going through something like this, so I just wish there were a few more details to that effect. But if you have your own stories, maybe that can still help someone in the comments section. So by all means, if you're willing, feel free to share what it was like for you down below. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.